Hi, this is episode 122 of A Couple of Things. Today, I want to answer a question that I see often from UXers, and it's always around how do you know how user centered an organization is? So, I thought about this a bit, and there were only two ways that I could think of where you could basically uncover how user centered an organization is or how interested they are in actually using and incorporating user feedback into their product development process or their business decisions or whatever. So there are two. The first one is what they talk and write about, and the second one is from your interview process. So on the first one, publications, what they write about, a lot of companies have blogs, medium sites, newsletters, whatever, especially tech companies, LinkedIn page, wherever. They have some platform, some place where they share things. And on these platforms, they may be sharing things about how they build certain projects, how they release certain features, how they make decisions about their roadmap and all those kinds of things. And you see companies like, depending on the level of transparency, so there's like the GitHub level of transparency where they have a whole entire thing that is public. Almost everything's public. I mean, obviously they have internal private security things, but typically a lot of things that you would want to find out about how GitLab does research, how they incorporate user feedback into their process, how teams make decisions is literally available on a repository that they made public. There are other companies, I think Remote also does that. They talk about how they make decisions. Figma does this as well. So you have to just check their website, check their blog, whether they have a Medium page, check their Facebook. What do they say on those platforms about where they're doing research? And they may not call it research because, especially for if they're just like having their first UX research hire or their first product designer, they may call it something else. They may call it getting feedback. They may call it customer insight. But just sleuthing through all these sources, you may be able to find things that can help you assess whether they're actually interested in using user feedback or getting user feedback, or if they're actually user focused or customer centric, whatever terms. So these are some of the terms that you can search for on their websites, and you can see case studies, projects. Companies also publish those things, case studies of how they release a certain feature or tried a new method, things like that. And so you can see from there, you can get a sense of how user centered or customer centric they are. So now on to the second thing, which is from your actual interview. And I want to say now that a lot of the time, people don't actually make good use of the interview. That point at the end where they ask you, do you have any questions for me or for us? And even if they don't ask you, that is your time to assess, like to do your own interviewing of the company, because an interview is a two-way street. As much as they are interviewing you, you're also interviewing them, or you should be at least, because you want to know at the different stages, depending on who you're talking to, you want to understand what they perceive about your role or the role that they're hiring for, what are the priorities that they have for this role, and things like that. And so this is a good place for you to ask questions to kind of assess how customer centric they actually are. And even in the course of the interview, from the questions, the kind of questions they're asking, you can also get a sense of what direction they're thinking about, and how user centered that they might be. So in the interview process, especially if you've gone through their publications and resources and all of those things, and you can't find information on things like how do they do research, what kind of research do they do, how do they incorporate customer feedback in their process, these are things that you can actually ask them in the interview. If you're a designer and you're interviewing with a product manager, for example, these are questions you want to ask, like how have you used research to make decisions in the past? How has a decision been made or changed because of insights from research or from customer feedback? Can you tell me about a time where you made a change because of feedback from customer or research insights? Things like that. Those are the kinds of questions you want to ask them back. So those behavioral type questions that they ask you, and those questions that require star answers, you can also ask those questions back to the team that is interviewing you to see what level of maturity they have with incorporating customer feedback in their process or being customer centered. And it's important to note that even if a team doesn't have a dedicated UX researcher, it doesn't mean that they are not customer centered, because the more you work with tech companies, especially B2B tech companies, you realize that a lot of people are talking to customers, a lot of people are engaging with customers. So it's not just about that. You also need to go a step further to know that beyond all the talk that they're talking, are they also walking the talk? Are they using things that they're getting from customers? Are they involving customers in that process by getting feedback on things that they are building and designing? So PMs or other people may be doing some kind of customer feedback session, designers may be doing usability tests, sales and marketing may have insights that they're incorporating that they're sharing with the team and incorporating into their process. So I would say don't look necessarily for them to have a UX researcher specifically, but look more at what they are actually doing in their team and how the process is working. And so in every interview, asking a question to everyone, like, what is a time where you have made a decision or changed a decision because of customer feedback, or based on insights from the customer, or based on customer data, or whatever way you want to frame it, is a good way to source that out in your interviews. I hope this helps. Thanks for listening. Bye. Thank you for listening to today's episode of A Couple of Things. If you found anything insightful, interesting, or you enjoyed this episode, please do share. And remember to like, if you can, wherever you listen to your podcasts, leave a comment, subscribe, so you get the future episodes. Thanks. Before you go, this is a reminder that you can ask me to talk about a specific topic or answer a question that you have by filling the form in the show notes to submit your suggestion or question. Bye.